Okay, here's the kicker. Get this. Saudi Arabia is having a comedy festival this month. Really? Saudi Arabia. It's gonna be great. If you die on stage, you get 72 virgin. And Chappelle is performing. If you told me years ago that Saudi Arabia would be cool to have Dave Chappelle speak, and England might arrest him, I would have said, what are you saying?
The left has been increasingly vocal about defending free speech. Bill Maher, with his trademark biting sarcasm, dismantled the angry mob's outrage so thoroughly that jaws dropped everywhere. Their recent actions make it clear they have no intention of backing down. This isn't just about words in a comment section. It's far-reaching and destructive, tearing through everything in its path. Get ready. What you're about to hear is pure fire, not smoke. Buckle up. Let's jump in.
That's the great irony. Flag burning is free speech, and free speech is one of the key things that makes America great. So now that I have you on my side on that issue, don't be a hypocrite and defend attacks on speech from the left, because you either get the concept or you don't. And sadly, a lot of people don't anymore.
Maher skillfully highlights the irony at play. The left often wields anger as a tool to shut down anyone who challenges them, even while championing the idea of free expression. In their carefully curated bubble, where ideology shapes every perspective, they claim freedom of speech, but only on their terms. Step outside that bubble, and you risk being branded a bigot, a threat, or worse. Maher exposes this contradiction with precision, reminding us all that the right to express oneself isn't a privilege reserved for any single group. It belongs to everyone, including those the left might prefer to silence.
They were never taught it by their derelict educational system. But also Lisa Cook. She's the Fed board member Trump is trying to fire for bullshit reasons, and they are bullshit. But when she tried to get another professor fired because he once, according to one student, was less than rapturous about Martin Luther King Day, no, she should know better. She said free speech should have its limits. Yes, it should, and does. And this comes nowhere close.
The case of Lisa Cook is particularly striking because it highlights a troubling trend. Some activist academics who, rather than sharing knowledge, use their positions to push personal agendas. Instead of encouraging free speech and critical thinking, she reportedly aimed to sway students and colleagues toward her own perspective. That's not education, it's indoctrination. No professor should exploit the classroom to advance personal beliefs, and for that reason, I support her dismissal. Her right to speak freely isn't being threatened by Trump. Rather, he opposes the widespread corruption that undermines our schools and protects young minds from biased information disguised as research.
It's bad enough that Trump is attacking free speech from the right, throwing the Associated Press out of the press pool, calling reporters enemy of the people, threatening and suing networks simply because he doesn't like the coverage. This country can't become that. But it also can't become what the UK is now. A place where you get arrested for tweets. Something that happens 12,000 times a year now in Britain. Last week, the Irish sitcom writer Graham Linehan, who's won an Emmy and 5 BAFTA awards, got off a plane at Heathrow and got arrested by 5 British cops. Not because he was selling drones to the Houthis, just because he's a crank who spends way too much time online.
On this matter, I part ways with Maher again. Free speech doesn't mean unlimited license. It comes with boundaries and for valid reasons. Take the Associated Press, for example. When they insisted on calling it the Gulf of Mexico rather than the Gulf of the United States, they faced backlash. That wasn't a harmless mistake. It was a deliberate stance that contradicted national interests. Then there's the well-known 60 Minutes lawsuit. The broadcast clearly appeared to favor Claw Harris, making Trump's pushback understandable. Had the interview aired fully, unedited, and unfiltered, it likely would have undermined Trump's position.
Which is an odd obsession for a comedian from across the pond, because if men weren't allowed to dress as women, British comedy wouldn't exist. There'd be absolutely nothing left of Shakespeare but the sonnets, and Monty Python movies would be 20 seconds long. But in the words of that great Brit Ricky Gervais, if you don't believe in a person's right to say things that you might find grossly offensive, then you don't believe in freedom of speech. You shouldn't have to eat your words at the airport. The chicken Alfredo on the flight was bad enough.
The right to speak freely isn't reserved for a select few. No government, group, or mob should ever restrict this core liberty. Everyone is entitled to it. When one group decides who can talk and who must remain silent, democracy itself is undermined. Disagreement does not grant anyone the moral authority to suppress another's voice. Claims can always be challenged, debated, or refuted with stronger arguments. Free societies thrive on diverse perspectives, not uniformity. Silencing dissent inevitably leads to tyranny. That's why safeguarding free expression is not optional, it's essential.
But there's plenty of non-crazy people, liberal people, who think the left has gone a little mad with trans issues. Some have expressed that opinion with literary sophistication, like J.K. Rowling. Some by getting big laughs, like Dave Chappelle. And some are downright ugly about it, like Linehan. But ugly is the price of a freedom so great as speech.
Voicing concerns about the trans movement or broader gender ideology has caused real hardships for many. Even raising points respectfully can carry serious risks in a culture where disagreement is treated as heresy. Trump's cited celebrities are just a few examples. Others have faced harassment, intimidation, or even legal consequences for questioning the prevailing narrative. Many have been publicly shamed, lost jobs, endorsements, or entire careers. This isn't freedom, it's coercion. Punishing individuals for presenting inconvenient truths is the opposite of progress. Under the guise of tolerance, society slips toward authoritarianism. Anyone who values liberty should be alert to the dangers of silence from public authority.
A guy from North Yorkshire in Britain faced 2 years in prison for wearing a Halloween costume depicting the terrorist who bombed the Ariana Grande concert. Bad taste? Yeah, bad taste is the whole point of Halloween. This Scottish man was found guilty of hate speech for a YouTube video where he taught his pug to salute when he said Sieg Heil.
Sieg Heil. Sieg Heil.
Elon Musk watched it and said, I don't see it.
I remember the uproar online and in the media when Elon Musk was accused of giving a Nazi salute. Pundits weighed in, social media blew up, and headlines were dominated by the controversy. But there was one key difference between the US and many other countries. The authorities didn't come knocking. Musk wasn't prosecuted or jailed for his inappropriate gesture. Instead, he faced the same challenges that public figures in free nations often encounter: backlash, debate, and criticism. That's the essence of free speech. The ability to act or speak freely while others also retain the right to respond or call you out. It doesn't mean your speech is banned. Experiences like this show just how vital it is for America to protect speech, even when it's offensive or hateful.
Kanye, this fucking dog. They're all wrong, and they all have the right to be wrong. Britain is now considering the so-called pub law. Okay, it's not just about pubs. It's a workplace bill aimed at preventing any kind of harassment in the workplace, including verbal remarks overheard. Okay, problem is a pub is a workplace, so is a bookstore. Would a major chain like Waterstones risk hosting a book signing by a controversial author like J.K. Rowling? And pubs? People go to pubs for two reasons: to drink and to exercise their inalienable right to talk shit.
I genuinely believe that by yielding to the left and imposing stricter limits on expression, Britain is moving in a very dangerous direction, arguably worse than the US. They seem unaware that unchecked censorship almost always backfires, often in dramatic and destructive ways. Today, surveillance goes far beyond online posts. Workplaces are monitored, and saying something that offends someone can trigger investigations, reports, or even police questioning. Democracy is eroding. Authoritarian tendencies are steadily rising. Ironically, these restrictions aren't even safeguarding society. They're designed to placate a small, agitated segment that thrives on outrage. If this path continues, dissent will be crushed, and the fundamental freedoms that once defined Britain could vanish entirely.
They're not in the House of Lords. They're in a bar called the Drunken Cock. Any Brit will tell you the food is awful, the weather sucks, but at least you can call each other a cunt. And now that's gone, it's like making a rule at the dog park, no ass sniffing.
Bill is absolutely right. Stripping away our freedom of expression is like taking away a divinely given right on par with the right to life itself. Free speech isn't granted by the government or the powerful. It is a fundamental part of human existence. No one, no matter how loud or influential, has the authority to decide what can be said or who can speak. The moment you allow a single group to control the conversation and silence everyone else, the essence of liberty is already lost. A society that only permits approved speech is not free, it is controlled. History shows that losing one freedom immediately threatens all others. Free expression is non-negotiable. Democracy depends on the ability to speak, debate, challenge, and even offend. Without it, we belong not to ourselves, but to the state or the whims of the masses. Protecting it is essential. It is a matter of survival.
Okay, here's the kicker. Get this. Saudi Arabia is having a comedy festival this month. Really? Saudi Arabia. It's gonna be great. If you die on stage, you get 72 virgins. And Chappelle is performing. If you told me years ago that Saudi Arabia would be cool to have Dave Chappelle speak, and England might arrest him, I would have said, what are you?
Even countries that once brutally suppressed criticism are starting to recognize the value of free speech, or at least taking steps in that direction. Take Saudi Arabia, for example. Not long ago, speaking out against authority could mean imprisonment, disappearance, or worse. The government tightly controlled all public communication, keeping people silent through fear. Today, however, change is slowly emerging. Once notorious for silencing dissent, the country now hosts some of the most outspoken comedians in the region, artists who build careers by challenging norms, pushing boundaries, and satirizing authority. This shift highlights the global importance of free expression, even though Saudi Arabia still has a long way to go toward genuine independence. If nations with histories of repression are starting to embrace free speech, Western democracies have no reason to slide backward. Liberty is built on the foundation of expression, not reserved for a privileged few. Freedom disappears the moment elites, governments, or mobs gain the power to decide who may speak. Even as previously restrictive countries begin to open up, we must remain vigilant. Otherwise, we risk losing everything. That wraps up today's video. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.